Hi, I'm Chris Hill, and today I'm going to talk about target panic. I'm going to talk about what it is, how to train it out of your shot sequence, and how to cure it permanently. So first, what is target panic? Well, target panic is a failure of your shot sequence, for one. It's a physical part of the shot itself. Something is failing in it. And number two, it's a reflex to a visual stimulation or a situation that you have in the target. Now, there's two types of target panic that I recognize. The first is the archers who can't anchor at all. They'll draw, and when the string gets close to their face, they just let the arrow go and it's flying everywhere. The second form of target panic is the archer can actually draw, anchor, and start to hold, but then they can't shoot. They can't come through the clicker. For some reason, they just was frozen. They'll let down, or they can't put the pin anywhere near the yellow. It makes them shoot. Or they can't shoot until there's 20 or 30 seconds left, so that the time forces their brain, forces them to shoot. Now, both of those target panics are completely different from performance anxiety, and that's where you're in a match heads up and there's lots of distractions and the pressure's on and you need a 10 to win and you don't fall back on your form and you make a bad shot. That can be overcome with really good coaching. You just have to coach in that. You have to learn to trust your equipment, trust your gear, trust your coach, trust your form, and trust your training, and eventually you'll get over the performance anxiety. But for today, we're going to talk about the target panic. So first are my do's and don'ts. Number one is have a good coach. Have one who can make sure that your form is as well as you can do it. A lot of target panic issues come about because of bad form. It's bad alignment, they're crunched in when they're trying to come through the clicker or to shoot, and these are issues that lead to anxiety, flinching, jerking, pulling through the clicker too much. And a good coach with good form on you can get rid of a lot of those issues that you have. Number two, if you're going to blank bale, always put a target up. Always, always, always. Don't bare bale with nothing, because all that's going to do is train you to shoot a great shot at nothing or at your arrows. And as soon as you put up a target again and there's yellow there, that's going to bring back all of your target panic issues. So all you're going to do is just reinforce the target panic. I had target panic for 6 years. I bare bailed for 2 of that, and all it did was just make it worse and worse and worse. Once I started putting a target up to bare bail, then I was able to start dealing with the target panic and start getting rid of it with some very simple exercises that I'm going to show you today. But always have a target. Doesn't matter how big, how small. If you have no target and you got a bare bail, then close your eyes. It's better for you to close your eyes and just feel the shot than it is to see nothing and to shoot. Number two, don't take the pin out of your sight. This is a Shibuya. It's a normal sight. At 70 meters, the entire target bale is inside of this circle. And a lot of people will say, well, first thing you need to do is take the pin out, take the aiming point out, get a larger aperture, make a bigger circle. None of this is treating the target panic. All this is removing one of the points of anxiety where you're having to aim at the target. And that's not going to work long term. It's not going to cure it. That's why people say, oh, once you have target panic, you have it for life. It's not true. But it is true if you do that, partly because you're not actually curing the target panic. You're just taking away something that leads to your anxiety. So there's no way, if you make this aperture bigger and you remove the aiming piece, that you're going to be able to aim off. You can't aim off in the yellow. The whole target bale at 70 meters is inside of the aperture circle. So put the aperture there and keep the pin in. That you have to do if you're going to have any success with this. Now, first off, what I do is I'm going to deal with the people that can't shoot, but they can actually anchor. I start them off close with a 122 centimeter target, very close. This one's up a little bit because I like them to be able to shoot at a 20-yard arm angle and a 70-yard arm angle. You'll find that some people can shoot a great shot very close on the 20, but as soon as you go up to the 70, suddenly they get some anxiety. So this helps them to work on that. But I start close. I see if they can shoot this at 4 or 5 yards, at 10 yards, 15 yards, and then 20, shooting this target. I like to get people to be able to shoot at 20 yards while they're working on the target panic for 2 reasons. One, a lot of people that have this issue, they go to an archery range and the range is 20 yards. And there's very few targets that are close, or they're aiming at the ground very close, and you want to be able to aim and shoot and work on the target panic at arm's distance. So if I can get my archers to be at 20 yards, they can go to any indoor range that normally shoots 20 and work on their target panic at that distance. You don't have to use the entire 122 centimeter. Some will start to fold it as they get used to it. But if my archer can get to where they can walk back from 0 or stabilizer distance to 20 yards, shooting this without any of the target panic issues that they have, then we can start from there. Otherwise, we have to stay closer and start working on some other things. Sometimes I'll take the side rods and the extension off and put just the front rod on. I'll try to make the bow feel different. We're trying to reprogram the brain mentally, and we're trying to reprogram the body shot as well. But I start out with this. As the archer gets better and doesn't have any anxiety at either of these two, whether it's a 20-yard angle or a 70, then sometimes I'll add this. And it's still close. We're like 5 to 10 yards, or up to 20. The brain sees this as not really a small yellow, even though you're aiming at it. The brain sees this as a huge target. So what we're trying to do is get a non-anxious shot to start with, whether it's 122 centimeters. If you can't get this to start with, get a can of yellow spray paint and spray the red yellow and make that the center and the 10 and the 9. If you can't do that, spray paint the blue ring the yellow, so it's yellow, yellow, yellow. Whatever that it takes to start to get you where you have a non-anxious or target panic shot at 20 yards with this target. Once you can do that, then I take a version of this and they fold it up, and it goes like this. Top target is a larger target. It's either 122 centimeter. In this instance right now I have a student working and they're using the 80 centimeter. And the top target is the non-anxiety target. They can shoot that with their shot, no problem. The target beneath it, that one starts to give them anxiety. So I will go from a 122 to an 80 and have them shoot back and forth. You want them to shoot top target, yeah, that's a pretty good shot. Bottom target, oh, a little bit of target panic. The brain will start to transition and learn that the top one and the bottom one are the same, even though there's a little bit of difference in the target itself that triggers that anxiety. Once they can shoot both of these with no anxiety, then I take this one out and move this one up. So now I have a 60 centimeter here. I'll put another 60 centimeter here, but I'll do this. So now target size is the same, but the yellow is just a little bit smaller. And we'll see if that gives any anxiety. So again, shooting up here, no anxiety. Shooting here, anxiety. Generally, the whole system of going from largest all the way down to smallest at 20 takes about 4 months for the brain to kind of readjust and for the shot process to adjust. Now, I'll get to the mental part of this shortly. You can also pull this like this and then give the archer 3 to shoot at. So non-anxiety, non-anxiety, a little bit of anxiety, and have them work on that. So do 2 arrows here, 1 arrow here, an arrow here, an arrow here. Just mix it up so that all the shots are the same, but the target is going from non-anxiety, target panic, to a target panic. And I always like having the top target be non-panicky, non-target, because it gets the arm angle up, so that once you switch to going outdoors, you don't suddenly, it's like everything's great at 20, and as soon as the arm comes up, suddenly there's all this target panic coming back. So this slowly starts to reprogram and reinforce that it's a non-anxiety target. Then eventually you get the 60 with this on the top, and put a 40 centimeter here, and you shoot that. And then you put a 40 centimeter here when they can do that, and you put just one of the verticals that would be on the bottom, and have them shoot until there's no target panic. This is very effective and works really well, and I've had great success with it. It cured me, several of my students, young kids have had it and it's cured, and some of my older adults as well that shoot even nationally, this has cured using this method. So it's a non-anxiety to anxiety, but you're shooting the 6 inch, 7 arrows, 8 arrows, and blending the two together. For the mental part of the reprogramming and retraining, what you have to learn is there's a portion that you can draw, anchor, and your setup is done, and then you start to focus on where you're going to aim, and that's when the target panic hits. So from that moment until you shoot, we're going to try to slow down and stretch out. So the brain is going to mentally take a pause or take a breath or count. So I'll have my students, they'll draw, anchor, and when they're ready to aim, they're not going to shoot. In their mind, they're going to say 1, 2, and then let down. And then they're going to draw that again. Draw, anchor, aim, 1, 2, 3, and let down. So that they're starting to reprogram the impulse of they get here and then they can't, everything is rushed and they got to shoot. I'm starting to introduce pauses to reprogram to get control of that moment. And then all this training at 20 and then outdoors 30, 50, 70, you got to get control of the 1 millisecond of after you've anchored and you're starting to aim until you've expanded and released. That second or half a second in the brain has to slow down so that you can get back control of that. And that's what's going to get rid of the flinches and that you're paused, because now you're starting to think of something else. You're starting to count 1, 2, 3, and you'll get where you can say now, okay, we're going to start expanding and the count of 1, and we'll expand, and by 3 it'll shoot, and they'll slowly transition into that 1, 2, 3, and the shot. And that getting back control of that by slowing that part of the shot down mentally is going to let them get control of that one moment in time when they have to be still and shoot a good shot. So once they can get where all this they can shoot at 20 yards, then I move them to outdoors. I put 122 centimeter and I put it at 20 yards. And I put it at 25, I put it at 30, 35. I slowly walk it back. I'll also put the 80 centimeter. I'll put it on as well. I'll move this up and have them shoot so that they can start to deal with some of the issues that they have to make sure that the target panic isn't coming back and they're just relying on the shot itself. And eventually you can walk this all the way out to 70 meters and all of the target panic issues will be gone away. So now for the first type of target panic, the archers who can't anchor at all, it's a little bit different protocol for the beginning. The exercises that I have for the first couple of weeks, they don't shoot at all. It's non-shooting, and you have to keep reiterating that to them over and over and over, because sometimes they'll shoot, they'll let go, whatever. But you have to say, okay, we're not going to shoot, we're not going to shoot. All we're going to do is going to draw, come to about right here and stop. Count to 3 and let down. And this is always in front of a target, at least like this, over and over and over. Okay, we're going to come up here and go just to right here. Stop. 1, 2, 3, and back down. And then we keep doing that, and I'll keep slowly increasing until they're close and close to the face. I'll say, okay, bring the pad of the finger or the hand to your face. Ready? Gonna go just to there. There. Stay. 1, 2, 3, and then let down. And we're not shooting. We're not shooting. And eventually, we'll get them to where they can have a full anchor. 1, 2, 3. We're not shooting, and then let down. And that takes about 3 or 4 weeks over and over and over to get them to that stage where we can then start at 5 yards or less with the big target. Okay, now we're going to shoot. But usually I don't tell them we're going to shoot beforehand. I'll have them do the exercise. They'll get anchored, and I'll say, we're not going to shoot, let down, and they'll let down. I do it 3, 4, 5 times. And then they'll draw, they'll anchor, they'll do, and I'll say, okay, shoot. Now, if they have a clicker, sometimes I have them not work with the clicker. I'll have them just skip that while we're learning to anchor, to get to the anchor, and sometimes even at the close distances, sometimes trying to come through the clicker is what leads to some of the anxiety, because they're stuck. So forget about the clicker for a little bit until they can draw, anchor, have a nice pause for the aim, shoot, and there's no flinch, none of the target panic, none of the moving. They aren't trying to hit the target, they're being still. It's just really the motion and the form itself. And then you keep reiterating on the mental part that once you get and you're starting to aim, the brain says, okay, let's take a second. It's no big deal. Just take a second, now we're ready to shoot, and then go ahead and shoot. And they will slowly morph into the non-anxiety shot. And that's what's going to get them to cure the target panic. And you really have to work that 1 second of the shot. You have to work the anxiety. And so I actually prefer that my archers, when they have the target panic, that I find what is the target that gives them anxiety to have on the bottom, and what is the target that does not to put on the top, so that they can go over and over and over from a shot that's easy and it's good, it's no big deal, and one that starts to make them nervous, gives them the anxiety. And you really have to find where that is. My method before was to start working close and walk back and see where the anxiety started. And if that was at 10 yards, then take a step forward, shoot a non-anxiety shot, take a step back, have an anxiety shot, and then do between the two, and then slowly walk back. But that doesn't always work on a range where they've only got 20 yards and a lot of shooters, and that makes it a little harder. So this is much easier with the targets and the different target faces and sizing in order to get that non-anxiety shot and then get it ingrained. But again, to reiterate, you need a really good coach who's watching your form to make sure you're not having big form issues that are leading to not being able to get through the clicker, or not being able to do a good shot, or collapsing after the shot. You have to have good form as well for that to change. So if you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up on Facebook or leave me a comment on the YouTube page, and I'll be more than happy to go over anything or answer any of your questions. Thank you.